A-League Access brought to you by Barry Plant.
Hello and welcome to A-League Access, the show that talks about all things A-League and everything to do with the World Game in Australia. My name is John McGauran and I'll be your host tonight. Joining me to talk about all things football is George Grossios. Good evening, George.
Hi, John.
George, we have a lot to cover tonight, including Melbourne Victory, the Legacy 23 plan, the Olympics draw, and we won't even mention the European Super League. I know we keep going back over talking about Melbourne Victory each week, but they've finally got some good news with the appointment of former Western Sydney Wanderers and Perth Glory manager Tony Popovic as the new coach of the Victory. He's been given full remit over the whole A-League program, recruitment and staffing. He comes with a wealth of experience and success. What are your thoughts about his appointment starting in July?
I think, John, it's a great appointment. Melbourne Victory supporters and the wider Victory fan base have demanded a high calibre coach after the disastrous tenure of Grant Bebner and before that
Carlos Salvatore?
Yes, who didn't return after the COVID pandemic. So hopefully Popovic brings his magic touch to Melbourne Victory, who are demanding success.
Yeah, he's been given 3 years, which is obviously a good step in the right direction. You know, we're so used to short-term contracts in the A-League. I think this is a good sign that they're committed to a program. I think he may have a difficult first year as he sorts through the playing staff and then puts his plan in place with his staff and his recruitment philosophy. But I reckon he might deliver on the ultimate success.
He'll stamp his authority right from the word go. He has a track record. He's done that at every club he's been. And Melbourne Victory surely need a shake-up. Their results suggest that they can't continue in the vein they've been. So you've noted that he's going to have a complete remit of the club in terms of recruitment, strategy, tactics. He'll basically gut the team and he'll have to go on a really, really careful and calculated recruitment drive. The players obviously that have been brought into the club over the last couple of years don't cut the mustard. So you can expect a total overhaul of the playing system. He'll also get some experts to help with player retention, the physical recovery side of things. So he'll be given the 3 years. The buck will stop with him, as you would expect with a high calibre appointment.
Yeah, I think it can work for them, and I just hope it does for the. But there are other issues at Melbourne Victory. We know that he's going to. Will this paper over the cracks? Will the A-League just? The success, they have a lot of issues off-field that they've been dealing with. The crowds are disappointing at the moment because no one seems to, the fans have lost trust in the club. This is obviously the first step in trying to rebuild their trust.
Look, the club are well aware they need to overhaul every aspect of the club, from supporter engagement, the squad, and the administration of the club. The club hasn't been administered as well as it has in previous years. There's been, John, some boardroom dissent. You've had a director in Richard Wilson resign a number of weeks ago. So you need to have a united club, and if they can't get the off-field settled, well, that can basically impact on the playing side of things also. Tony Popovic, he's used to the politics of soccer. He's actually experienced it firsthand in Greece, in Turkey, so he knows it's actually a cutthroat sport, but he's going to go into that club demanding loyalty and total backing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have committed to a 3-year contract with Melbourne Victory.
He's not starting until July, and he's currently still in Europe, so hopefully he's over there and doing some recruiting for them. That you'd think that's what the plan is, that he's going to stay over in Europe, have a look through, obviously watch the last half a dozen games, which obviously we saw straight away the players turn into performance for the ages, scoring 5 goals out of nowhere. But he's obviously going to be looking at a complete squad overhaul, and he'll be scouring the leagues of Europe and Australia at the moment with the COVID situation here, a lot better than in Europe. It might be a good opportunity for some canny recruitment.
Well, he has a track record in terms of recruitment. Expect him as a priority to shore up the defence. So he'll be scouting and he'll be looking at some defenders, he'll be looking at a holding midfielder, he'll be looking at strikers as well, because yes, they did defeat...
Is there anyone in the squad you just haven't named there? Or?
Oh, well, I'm using a very broad brush, I know. I'm using a broad broom to sweep through the playing ranks. Certainly their performances this year haven't been up to scratch, so it does actually warrant a squad overhaul. Yeah,
it certainly does. Their win last week obviously has got them off the canvas, and they're actually somehow off the bottom of the table by a miracle, leaving the Jets stranded on the bottom. But I think there's a lot to work with for Melbourne Victory. The fans hopefully can get behind Popper, and it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with.
Absolutely, and as we touched on earlier, John, the club and management certainly need to work on their fan engagement also. Fans have been agitating for quite a number of years, ever since Kevin Muscat left the club. So if you can't get the fans on board, well, it's only going to end in tears for management.
Thank you, George. Football Australia announced this week their Legacy 23 plan, which includes 5 pillars to deliver community benefit and economic benefits from Australia hosting the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2023. The first 2 pillars include player participation, and community facilities. I was reading through this, and I think these are 2 of the most important legacy we can get out of this Women's World Cup, because we know, as people involved in junior sport and everything, the facilities and participation of women is growing exponentially, and that has to be supported.
Well, John, I was looking through the statistics that came out of the FFA census in 2019, and in the National Football Census we have a rise of 11% for women's participation, which is a great result considering the competition that is out there. So we have 157,000 participants, and that's, as I say, that's an increase of 11%. Now, of the 1.9 million active participants in the sport, 22% make up women and young girls. So they're aiming for, by 2027, a 50-50 ratio. That may sound very ambitious, but it's a great target to aim for. Hopefully the 2023 World Cup stimulates more interest, more support, more participation. Certainly the member federations, the Australian government have a lot of work to do. State governments have a lot of work to do. Local councils, they need to invest a lot more heavily in the sport. So,
yeah, it's a really difficult one, because obviously the AFLW is also pushing in on the market. The facilities for female juniors across the board is really lacking, and especially in football, and that's going to have to change. But it's going to take a lot of investment, a lot of time to recover and do that. And so I really think getting the facilities right in our juniors and development and everything, and maybe we can get that sorted.
Well, certainly, John, the AFC Asia Cup that we had in 2018 and the publicity that generated was a great stimulus for the sport.
Yeah.
Now we're hoping that the 2023 World Cup is not only a ratings bonanza, but obviously a financial bonanza also, that enables all of the stakeholders to invest in grassroots football and develop the stadia that we need to keep growing the sport.
Thank you, George. We'll continue the discussion about Legacy 23 after the break. You're watching A-League Access. Welcome back to A-League Access. George, we've talked about participation in community facilities, But Football Australia's Legacy 23 plan also talks about leadership and development, tourism and international engagement, and high performance. The leadership and development of females in our game is very important. We've seen recently with the appointment of some female presidents in the AFL, we don't have enough leaders in the women's game and we need more of them. Hopefully this can start the path.
Well, let's hope so, because they do play a vital role in the sport, not only at the grassroots level, but obviously within the A-League structure as well. We have a thriving W League. We need to keep nurturing that, and the way you do that is by allowing women to progress into leadership roles, management roles, coaching roles. So again, this is a vital time in our sport to promote women and give them genuine opportunities to help grow and develop the sport.
And it's obviously a great opportunity for us to develop connections with other countries. They're obviously going to be coming out for the game, so we can build up more partnerships and hopefully just continue building our relationship in world football, because we've seen it ebbs and flows at times in Asia. Our strength in some countries don't particularly like us sometimes, but this gives us a really good opportunity to cement some solid ties with some countries.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it is a global sport. It is the World Games. So, again, an opportunity for our federation to network with other federations, and perhaps it'll lead to more friendly tournaments. And obviously, Australia is a keen competitor in the Asian Champions League. So, again, they're the sort of relationships we have to foster.
Yeah, for sure. And on that, George, we turn to the Tokyo Olympics, and the draw has been announced for both the Olyroos and the Matildas. Been probably, I would say, given horror draws. The Olyroos have been drawn alongside Spain, Argentina and Egypt, while the Matildas will face New Zealand, Sweden and the number 1 ranked United States. George, the Matildas, we should probably focus on them first. It's only a 12-team tournament, so you are going to be drawn against the best, but we've drawn number 1 and 5 in the world.
America and Sweden, yes. So coming off those 2 heavy defeats to Germany and the Netherlands, of course that was some time ago. Hopefully Australia have licked their wounds, they've looked at the squad, they've looked at their matchday tactics and all of the other important aspects of preparation. It's almost a group of death for the Matildas, taking on a champion side like United States. The Swedes aren't a pushover, being ranked 5th. New Zealand, you have to beat New Zealand. If Australia needs to progress through the tournament, they need to have a good solid win against New Zealand. I'm confident of a good result against Sweden. On our day, we can beat the likes of the Swedes. I'm not so confident, I hate to say it, John, against America.
Yeah,
USA.
no, look, it's exciting times though. Well, I was very lucky enough to be in Montpellier to see the Matildas come back and beat Brazil 3-2 in the last tournament, which was amazing to be there. And they do have something, but they seem to have lost a bit of their groove in the last year or two, obviously since the sacking of Sajic. So they've got to really get back on track if they're going to make an indent in this tournament.
Well, the pressure is on Tony Gustafsson to hit the ground running and get the results. Those 2 matches against Germany and the Netherlands gave him food for thought in terms of which of the international contingent he'll select and which of the W League players he would like to invite into the squad and blood and give them an opportunity. So it's going to be a challenge for him to get that mix of locally based as well as the overseas. Some of the overseas players, of course, are superstars in their own right. Of course, Sam Kerr, Gilnick, these sort of girls, they'll be terrific players for the team. They'll be the mainstays of the squad. We'll see how we go with blooding all of the other relatively inexperienced players, but it will be a baptism of fire for some of our players.
And it's going to be very difficult for Gustafsson to get everything right because of the current COVID situation. Getting a squad together isn't simple. Mixing European and Australian players together and getting them in Japan, like this is difficult. How do you pull it all together so that it comes together? Well,
this is all part of the challenge for the whole setup of the Matildas. They don't have much time up to the Olympics, so whatever they do, they need to act fast, obviously, and we just now have to hope for the best. But it is a tough group. There's no shying away from that. Let's support the team from afar, and hopefully they can get the right result.
Yeah, unfortunately, we will only be supporting from in front of our TVs. Now, the Olyroos, Spain,
yes.
Argentina and Egypt, who will probably select Mo Salah as their overage player. What are we going to select as our overage player to somehow, can we scrape a result together?
Well, maybe we'll select Aaron Moy. I mean, speaking of group of death, that is the classic group of death. We've drawn Argentina. Can you imagine if they recruit or they select Lionel Messi?
It's really difficult for them, and you know, Graham Arnold's got a real task ahead of himself. Obviously been, again, difficult coming up with a squad and, you know, no games. It's really, this is going to be a hell of an assignment for the boys.
Well, he's been hampered by COVID, of course, but Australia isn't the only country that have had that challenge. So whether that works for or against Australia, again, time will tell. Confronting the likes of Spain as well. Who will be their overage player? We'll wait and see, but certainly our players, hopefully they won't be overawed, and hopefully Graham Arnold can get his tactics right and his formations right. He does have a reasonable squad to choose from. It's a difficult task for him, and I hope that the media don't get on his back or he doesn't suffer any unnecessary criticism, because it's a learning curve for this particular team, and he's also learning about these particular players.
Yeah, it will be a real challenge for Graham Arnold, and it's just obviously been difficult for his first few years in the job has been difficult for the Socceroos, and he hasn't got any momentum going because there hasn't been any games. It's been difficult, and obviously, but that's the situation all across the world, and we just have to deal with it. And we're very lucky to have the A-League still going for us to watch. And yeah, so we'll wish them, both teams, success. And if we somehow made it through to the semi-finals in either or quarter, if the Olyroos got through the group, that'd be a miracle. And the Matildas, if they somehow got to the semi-finals, it'd be a pretty solid result.
That would be an achievement in itself.
Yeah. We need to take another short break. You're watching A-League Access. This next segment is brought to you by Barry Plant Real Estate.
For results you can rely on.
Hi, this is Erika Mavet, and I'm here in Villareal. But no Villareal, Spain. Monash, Villareal. Today we are meeting with their co-captains, Monica Garcia and Rosangel Margarejo. Let's go and see them now.
Actually, I started high school, yes, when I was in Venezuela. But the funny thing was when I went to university, my strongest sport was basketball, definitely. But when I went to the university, I talked with the coach in basketball team, and he told me, sorry, you are tall enough for play basketball, so you can't. I say, what? But one friend told me, but you play soccer in high school. But I say, yes, but was soccer indoor, and it's totally different. And he told me, no, but you can do it, try. I say, okay, I'm gonna try, that's okay. Yeah, when I went to the university and the coach told me, okay, start for training, doesn't matter, you can train it, yes. The first day was good, the second day was amazing, so the coach said, it's okay, you are in the team actually, but yes, start really formal in the university, yeah.
You have played football in Venezuela. How is the level of women's football in Venezuela compared to Australia?
We're not bad, actually. We have really good players in our country. Actually, a really important player is now in Europe, is the best from the country, is Deina Castellano. She now playing in Euro in Spain, but the problem is the opportunity. Actually here the girl has more opportunity to develop the skill, you know.
Monica, you did football charity work in Africa. What was that like?
I had volunteered twice in Africa. The first one was in Ghana, where I organized a match for kids play soccer, and was amazing. I cannot explain with words how I feel, because I don't know, they lead the soccer the another way, I don't know, it's amazing.
What's it like playing at Monash Villareal?
I like the high level training and also the coach, because they follow the same methodology that Villareal Spain has, and also the relationship between the teammates.
That was our reporter Erica Marbet with the co-captains of Monash Villareal. Thank you to both captains and Monash Villareal for taking time out to speak to us. We now turn our attention to round 19 of the A-League. And George, tonight we have Adelaide versus Western United.
Yes, Western United have had a terrible run of late. They haven't been able to find any consistency. Adelaide have done really well under Carl Viet's coaching. They're in the top 6. And I can actually see them end in the top 6. It is a tough run home for them, but I think they are more than capable of securing that spot in the 6.
Perth Glory versus Macarthur FC. What are your thoughts on Macarthur so far this season?
It has been an impressive debut season for them. Sure, they're going to have some inconsistent performances. They're waiting for their team to actually gel, and Milicic is trying to obviously determine his best 11 and also work out whether the squad needs to be changed for next season. So it's been overall an impressive debut season.
And then on Saturday we have Brisbane take on who are one of the surprise packets of the season, Wellington, who are doing fantastic to be sitting in the top 6 after living out of their own country for the whole season.
That's right, they've been based in Illawarra for the whole season, so it's just a testament to their resilience. They're just sitting in the 6 at the moment. Whether they can actually continue the run and stay there, time will tell.
And then we've obviously got the Sydney Derby.
I'm tipping Sydney FC. They've managed to secure the services of Adam Lafondre, who has been in India in recent months playing in the Indian Premier League, so they're stacked with champions up forward. I don't know how they can fit them in the salary cap, just quietly.
Just quietly. Finally, we finish on Sunday where Melbourne Victory take on the Central Coast Mariners. That'll be interesting to see how Victory responds with that. That's all for this week's edition of A-League Access. Thank you, George.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Monash Villareal and Erica Marbet. I'm John McGauran. Thank you for watching. Join us for A-League Access next week.
A-League Access brought to you by Barry Plant.